Thank you. I'm so glad you voted today.
Election Day in the Golden State.
It's a lot of work to really vote, to do it right. There's a lot of reading to be done.
The California primary playing a big role in shaping the race for the White House.
I think voting is a very important part of our duties as Americans.
We'll have the latest results and take a look at what happens next on tonight's KPBS News Special. Good evening. Welcome to this KPBS News Special for the California primary. I'm Amita Sharma. Tonight we'll have the latest on the key contests in California that may help change the balance of power in Washington, D.C. We'll continue to have updated results on the races and issues you voted on today. Just keep track of our election night ticker at the bottom screen to help you understand what this all means. Political science professor Brian Adams from San Diego State and iNews Source reporter Joe Urardi will join me for more analysis, and we'll have live team coverage from the election night scenes. We're at Golden Hall. We're following the Democratic Watch Party at the Westin, and we're at the Republican Watch Party at the U.S. Grant. Today could mark a major milestone in the race for the White House. At this time, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders is expected to make a very important announcement tonight. We'll monitor this development and bring you the latest as soon as we have it. Voters in California and 5 other states cast ballots in the presidential primary contest today, and many were clearly looking ahead to the general election. And I'm going to read you some of those results for the presidential race. Hillary Clinton, with 11.8% of the precincts reporting in California, has 63.58%, followed by Bernie Sanders at 35.46%, and Donald Trump, as expected, has 80%. Hillary Clinton thanked her supporters for helping her reach a milestone and blasted Donald Trump for divisive rhetoric in his presidential campaign. Trump finishes the night with more than enough delegates to become the official Republican presidential nominee. Tonight, he set his sights on November and on non-Republican voters. Let's take a look at the rest of the races tonight. For the U.S. Senate, we have Kamala Harris at 32.44%, and that's with 11.8% of the precincts reporting. Harris is followed by Congresswoman Loretta Sanchez with 19.91%. And then we move on to the congressional races. We have Republican Darrell Issa in 49th District Congressional. In the 49th Congressional District, he has 51.44%, followed by Doug Applegate, Democrat, with 45.57%. And in the 50th Congressional District, we have incumbent Republican Duncan Hunter with 57.82%, followed by Democrat Patrick Malloy at 21%. And then we move on to the 51st Congressional District with Juan Vargas at 64%, around 65%, followed by Juan Hidalgo at 19%. And then in the 52nd Congressional District, this is the most competitive congressional district, we have incumbent Democrat Scott Peters with 57 or 58% of the vote, if you want to round that off, followed by Denise Gitsham at 17% and Jackie Atkinson, both Republicans, at 13%. Moving on to the Board of Supervisors, incumbent Republican Greg Cox with 100% of the vote. He didn't have a challenger. In District Number 2, Diane Jacob has 76% of the vote. She had a challenger, Rudy Reyes. He came at 23%, or 24% rather. In District 3 on the Board of Supervisors, this was the most competitive race. Incumbent Dave Roberts has 39% of the vote, followed by Encinitas Mayor and Republican Kristen Gaspar with 34% of the vote. And in the city of San Diego, it looks like incumbent Republican Mayor Kevin Faulconer has the chance of winning outright. This is only 14.3% of the precinct's voting, but with that percentage, he is coming in at 61.8%, followed by independent Lori Saldana at 19% and Democrat Ed Harris at 18%. In the race for San Diego City Attorney, we've got Robert Hickey with 31%. He's a Republican, followed by Democrat Mara Elliott at 26.8%. And in District 3 on the San Diego City Council, we've got Chris Ward at 60.7%, followed by Anthony Bernal at 24%. In District 5 on the San Diego City Council, it looks like incumbent Republican Mark Kersey is headed toward winning outright. Again, this is actually just about 7% of the precincts coming in. He is at 71%. And then moving on to District number 7, it looks like incumbent Republican Scott Sherman might also win outright at 63%, and that is with 22% of the precincts voting. Moving on to District 9, Ricardo Flores has 40.7%, followed by Georgette Gomez with 29%. And then we have, let's see, Proposition 50. This is the only ballot measure on the California ballot, and this is to suspend state legislators accused of wrongdoing, to suspend them without pay. It looks like voters are headed toward passing that. It's coming in at 77%, with about 12% of the precincts reporting. Eric Anderson joins us now from the Democratic Watch Party at the Westin.
Well, Amitha, we are here at the Westin Hotel, which is near the Gaslamp Quarter and where the Democrats have gathered tonight. We just heard a spirited speech from Toni Atkins, the outgoing Speaker of the Assembly. She was talking about the progress that Democrats had made tonight and the fact that many of the local candidates have done very well, in part because of the interest in the presidential race. The candidates are expected to be here, many of them through the course of the evening. One candidate who won't be here, though, tonight is Scott Peters. The congressman is back in Washington tonight. We did have a chance to catch up with him yesterday to talk about his upcoming race between now and November. I'm Eric Anderson here at the Democratic Party headquarters in the Westin Hotel, which is located just off the Gaslamp Quarter. And this is the place where the Democratic One of the things that the congressman told us yesterday when we spoke with him was that he's looking forward to this upcoming battle. He expects it to be a little bit more bruising than primary battle because he thinks that that's when the outside money will come in. And he says he's a fighter, and that's what he does. Listen to what he had to say.
I practiced law for 15 years. I was a trial lawyer. I think I know, I always preferred for my clients to make an agreement, but I also know how to fight if people don't want to agree. And what we did was we just drew a contrast between my opponent and me, and often my opponent, what he said once and what he said before. So I think that's fair game. I mean, we didn't take a personal attack on him, but we did attack what we thought were pretty extreme policies. I think we're going to have some of the same policies come at us this year, and we'll let people know when we don't think that matches where the district is.
The congressman says that he will find out tonight who his Republican challenger will be. There were 4 people who are vying for that spot. Five Republicans. Denise Kitson leads currently with Jackie Atkinson close. We'll know by the end of the night, possibly by tomorrow morning, who he'll face off in November. As for the other Democratic Party candidates, they will be here they'll be through here. It's the headquarters. They'll be through here as the evening winds on. Eric Anderson at the Westin Hotel.
I grew up thinking it was your civic duty to do it. Also, it feels like you're playing your small part and making a difference.
To change the political landscape, to change like how we view politics, that people view politics as something that will change later, but we got to change now.
I voted today for the future of my children. It's a really big concern for me.
And I want to remind our viewers that we are waiting, we're standing by for a speech from Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders. But until that, I'm going to turn to our analyst, San Diego State University political science professor Brian Adams. Hillary Clinton, it looks like, has emerged as the winner in the California presidential primary. What does she need to do to unify the Democratic Party and lure younger voters who were enamored by Bernie Sanders?
Well, the first thing she needs is an endorsement from Bernie Sanders, and I'll be really interested to see how strongly Bernie Sanders comes out with an endorsement either tonight or in the upcoming days. Other than that, if you look at Bernie Sanders and why he was so appealing to so many voters, is he doesn't come across as a typical politician. And in that he actually shares with Donald Trump, is that neither of them come across as being politicians. And Hillary Clinton does come across as a politician. That's really what she needs to work on, is to connect with voters, not as a politician trying to sell a platform, but trying to connect with voters on a more personal level.
So Bernie Sanders has lost. How much pressure does he face now to drop out of the race?
Well, he's been facing a lot of pressure to drop out for a couple of months
pressure?
now. Yeah, I mean, let's ratchet up, but it doesn't seem like the Democratic leaders have much leverage over Bernie Sanders. For many, many years, he wasn't even part of the Democratic Party. He was he was a independent for many, many years, and so Democratic leaders don't have much influence over him.
Okay, we're going to wrap that up. We will be coming back to you later. We're going to throw now to Steve Walsh, who is live from the Republican Watch Party in San Diego.
That's right, Amita. We're here at the U.S. Grand Hotel in downtown San Diego, and we have Mayor Kevin Faulconer with us. Mayor, good night for you. It sounds like, give me your thoughts on winning another election.
You know, I'm excited, and I'm very humbled. I think tonight's results is, as I said, it's an affirmation of working together. And the tone that I've tried to set as mayor and the results that we're getting as we're, paving more roads than we have, increasing library hours, working, doing great things with our public safety, our police and fire. It's coming together, and I can't wait to really continue that momentum, as I said tonight, working together collaboratively. That's what defines us as San Diegans, and I can't wait for the years ahead.
Wanted to ask, this is also a big night for Donald Trump. He's wrapped up the Republican nomination. Tonight, did you vote for Donald Trump?
No, as I said, I haven't endorsed him, and I've been really focused on what we're doing here in San Diego and not being partisan. I don't know if there's enough partisanship on the national level. I've said we've got to work closely here together in San Diego to do what's right, and I think that tonight's strong numbers across the aisle, Republican, Democrat, and Independent, I think affirms the right approach, not just here locally, but what we need to see more of in our state and in our country.
Are you concerned at all that Barbara Bree may be the next city council member and you will not have a Republican majority?
Oh, look, I've said all along that, as you work with the council, and it doesn't matter on Republican or Democrat. I mean, I've set that, I think I've set that style and that tone and those results over the last 2 years. Having been on the council for a number of years myself, but there's always going to be some issues that you agree, some issues that you disagree. But I think what's important for all of us, and it's part of my job, is to help say, let's work together. Let's put any partisan differences aside and do what's best for San Diego. I think the last 2 years have shown that we can do that. And I said it and I mean it. It's not about partisanship, Republican, Democrat, Independent. Roll up our sleeves, get together, do the right thing for San Diego. We've been doing that, and it's working.
All right, so that is San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer after a good night for the mayor here. Obviously, we've got a real crowd here at the U.S. Grand Hotel, downtown San Diego. For KPBS News, I'm Steve Walsh. Back to you, Amita.
Thank you, Steve. And now we want to turn to Alison St John, reporter Alison St John, who joins us live from Golden Hall with the latest.
Hi, Amita. I'm Alison St John here in Golden Hall, which is election central for San Diego. Remarkably empty tonight. I've been to many elections, and there's very few people here considering how many important elections there are going on. This is always an opportunity for people to come down and rub shoulders with their elected officials, but we've seen a lot of
Okay.
Oh, sorry. So I was just saying that we have seen quite a few of the national campaigns come through, but not so many of the local campaigns. I have here with me, though, the lead candidate for the city attorney's race, Robert Hickey. Mr. Hickey, you are leading, but on the other hand, you might have a fairly stiff race in November because you are the only Republican and you will be up against one of the 3 Democrats in November. What gives you the advantage, do you think?
Well, first, Alison, thank you. That's great news. We're very excited to be in first. We're confident we can stay there. We've been running the past year on a positive message about making government better. Good government's not good enough. We've got to do better. And at the city attorney's office, there's so many important ways we can make government at City Hall and in all of San Diego better. There's 3 main things I'm focusing on. One is in the area of criminal prosecution. After Prop 47, thousands of more cases, more serious cases and more serious criminals than the city attorneys typically handled are going to the city attorney's office. So that's going to be a really important focus. Many of us saw that recently about almost 100 cases were lost to the statute of limitations there, including domestic violence cases. I make sure that will never happen again. That'll be an easy pledge for me. Another way we can better serve the public is in the area of code enforcement. Protect the quality and character of our neighborhoods, protect the most vulnerable San Diegans from substandard housing, from slumlords. These are important places the city attorney can make a difference. And then in the other big role, advising the mayor, advising council and all the departments, is to give accurate, consistent legal advice so that the policymakers are actually effectuating the policies they want to when they pass an ordinance, so that they're both effective and legal. That's the message we've carried for the last year. That's the message we're going to carry for the next 5 months. And we're very confident that we'll be in first place again in November, regardless of who we're facing.
Well, if you are the first place winner in November, you would be taking over from Jan Goldsmith,
right,
the current city attorney. How would you do things differently from him?
Well, Jan inherited an office in disarray, and he's done a wonderful job stabilizing an office that had nearly 100% turnover from the 4 years of Mike Aguirre. So the office has been stabilized. Now I want to really instill a culture of service there. I want to empower my lawyers to know that their boss has their back. I've been a deputy DA for almost 20 years, and I know my best work occurred when Bonnie DeManis empowered me to use all the tools in the toolbox and actually invent some more tools in prosecuting gang murders in San Diego. We changed the way we investigate those cases. We made our neighborhoods safer. We've made our more vulnerable neighborhoods, Southeast San Diego, a safer place. It's a fight that will continue. But I was really proud of the work I did there. Because of the tools I was given and empowered by my boss, I was the prosecutor of the year in 2011 for solving a double murder where 2 innocent women were killed coming home from a midnight church service. They stopped in Southeast San Diego to buy a fire log. They were at ground zero for revenge, for a gang revenge murder. It took us 6 years to solve that case, but we pulled out every stop. And that's the kind of empowerment I want to give my deputy city attorneys, so they'll be better lawyers, more empowered lawyers, and in turn a much better product for San Diego.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Alison.
So that's candidate Robert Hickey, who's currently at the top of the list for the city attorney's race, but will still be facing a challenger in November. I'll hand it back to you, Amitha. I'm Alison St John here in Golden Hall.
Thank you, Alison. San Diego County Supervisor Dave Roberts joins us now. Supervisor, welcome. So with 12% of the precincts reporting, you're coming in at 39%, followed by Encinitas Mayor Kristen Gaspar at 33%, and Escondido Mayor Sam Abed at around 27%. How are you feeling about the results so far?
Well, we're really pleased with these early returns, and it showed that our message caught on as we hoped it would with our voters, and that they want me to continue serving for the next 4 years, just like I have for this past 4 years.
So the results are somewhat close at this point. It's generally hard to unseat incumbents on the Board of Supervisors. How much of an impact did the personnel scandal in your office have on you? How much did it wound you in this race?
You know, my opponent spent over $500,000 trying to smear my record with this one incident incident that happened well over a year ago. When that incident happened, I took responsibility immediately. We made changes in my office and we moved forward. And I think the voters tonight are telling you that they want me to continue to move forward. You have to remember, when these supervisorial districts were created, only one was a competitive district, and that was the 3rd supervisorial district. And so I think what these numbers tonight, and again, these are the early absentee voters, which historically I wouldn't do as well in. At this time 4 years ago, I was greatly on the losing end of this race, and then I slowly climbed out of it. And I think now it's showing that the voters in these early absentee returns are showing that they want a quality of life, they want their communities protected, and they want a county supervisor that stands up to these special interest groups that want to destroy our quality of life in the 3rd district.
You are the lone Democrat on the Board of Supervisors. How important is it to have a Democrat on this board?
You know, I think each of us brings a diverse voice to the Board of Supervisors, and we each bring our own expertise with us. And I think you've seen us for the last 4 years mostly work well together on a number of issues. And I'm going to continue to do that, whether it's working on the Alzheimer's Initiative with Supervisor Diane Jacob, behavioral health issues with my colleagues, or whatever the issue happens to be. You're going to see us continuing working together on these issues that the voters care about.
And how do you expect this campaign to play out heading toward the November election?
You know, we said from the very beginning that this election was, survive the primary, win in November. We talked about that on TV shows, and that's what we did. We're surviving the primary, and we're going to win outright in November. I'm so pleased 2 of my 6 kids are here with me tonight. 5 of our 6 were at our Escondido, where we had an early celebration tonight. We're going to work hard with my volunteer-based campaign. We're going to be greatly outspent by all these special interests, but we're not going to let them buy this seat and put somebody in place that doesn't share the beliefs of the voters in my district. I represent my voters in the 3rd district, and I'm going to continue to do that and fight for them.
Supervisor Roberts, thanks for speaking to us today.
Thank you.
We spoke to State Senator Marty Block earlier. Here's a portion of that interview. Do you plan to campaign for Assemblywoman Toni Atkins, who's seeking to replace you?
I support Toni fully, but she doesn't need the help. I mean, she's got a very easy race from here to November. I'm going to give my time and my effort to Hillary Clinton because we have to stop Donald Trump.
In the Senate, the state Senate, Democrats need to flip only 1 seat from red to blue to reach the 2/3 threshold, which would give them a virtual free pass to get legislation passed that they want. Is that going to happen this year?
I don't know. It's going to be tough. First, we have to hold the seats we already have. And there's a seat held by Senator Carol Liu, who's in Pasadena. She's termed out. And that's going to be a tough seat for the Dems to hold. There's a tough Republican challenger for that seat. There are a couple of seats, though, where the Dems do have a shot at taking Republican seats. If you're asking me, is it likely that we're going to go to 2/3? I don't think so. I wish we would. It would give us more power to do what I think is best for the citizens of California. But we'll know more by the end of tonight. And, of course, most of these races will go to November.
And now we're going to turn to Andrew Bowen, who joins us live from the Republican Watch Party in San Diego.
Yeah. I haven't heard one of those in a while. It's busy?
I guess.
Yeah, somebody's got to tell them.
This is us panicking.
Okay, we're having some technical difficulties over there. We're going to throw to Jean Guerrero, who joins us now from the Democratic Watch Party at the Westin.
I'm here at the Democratic headquarters of the Westin Hotel near Horton Plaza. We've still got a room full of Democrats, and the atmosphere is very celebratory. They've been talking about how for the first time in San Diego's recent history, there have been greater numbers of Democrats turning out to vote than Republicans in most of the elections. I spoke with Francine Busby, who says she's excited about this changing trend.
When it comes to November, and there will be no Donald Trump.
Well, this is the first time that we've really seen that Democrats are returning their early ballots in the same percentage or even higher numbers than Republicans. That's really unusual in San Diego. And we've also had a big surge in Democratic registration, so our numbers are higher. So we're looking at several races that normally we wouldn't be competitive in primaries. It looks like we will, do very well in those and might go on to November for runoffs.
It's a good fight. And I really thank you.
She says the popularity of Bernie Sanders among young people may have played a role by encouraging greater voter registration, as well as the voter registration drives that they held here. We'll have more information soon. Jean Guerrero, KPBS News.
And I'm going to read some of the election returns, repeat some of the election returns that I read earlier today, just recapping the presidential race. Hillary Clinton wins the Democratic Party, the Democratic primary in California with 63% of the vote. Bernie Sanders trailing her at 35%, and Donald Trump won 80% of the votes in the California Democratic primary, and that's just 11% of the precincts voting. We're going to turn now again for a little bit more analysis from our political analyst, Brian Adams. Let's talk about Donald Trump. He has faced a lot of criticism from Republican Party strategists over his comments accusing a San Diego federal judge of bias in the Trump University case, over wanting to build a wall to keep out undocumented immigrants from Mexico. There's a lot of pressure on the leaders in the Republican Party to distance themselves from this presumptive Republican presidential nominee. Do you see that happening?
A few weeks ago, it seemed like Republican leaders were falling in line, and you saw some endorsements from Paul Ryan and a few others. But over the last week or two, especially with some of the more recent comments about the judge within the Trump University case, that you've seen a lot of Republican leaders changing their mind on that. And you haven't seen a stampede of endorsements. Even today, Mitch McConnell refused to directly endorse Donald Trump when asked, the Republican leader in the U.S. Senate. And so it's unclear exactly where the party's going to go. There is an effort by Trump to try to get some unity, to try to get the leaders to back him, but a number of leaders have been very hesitant to get into line.
And we're going to wrap it there. Thank you so much, Brian Adams. We'll continue to have updated results on air and online at kpbs.org. We'll be back at 11 o'clock for another election night update here on KPBS.